Next up, it's a departure from the league, and you've already gone on record as a manager stating that after the JD Cymru Premier, your next target is the JD Welsh Cup, and that's where we're in action this coming Saturday.
That's right, it gives an opportunity for players that haven't had as many minutes in the league to play and get minutes and to stake a claim, because we've got 22 players to pick from. Yes, we've got loan players out and we've got younger pros that we've signed, but for the majority of them, if they're not getting game time in the league, then they want game time in the cup. Unfortunately for some of them, they've had minutes in the cup games that we've gone out of. So they've got to look at themselves and think, have I been doing enough to play in the league and to play in a team that I select that is my first 11? So it's up to the players. They're going to get the opportunity to play in the Welsh Cup. Still going to be a strong team. Whatever team we put out, it's going to be a strong team, but players are certainly going to get more minutes than they've had recently.
You alluded to other competitions there. You won't need reminding, of course, that we're already out of the Tonics Caramel Wafer Challenge Cup and the Nathaniel MG Cup. So if, as a manager and as a team, we are to do another double this season, then this is a must-win game.
Yeah, it's, last 2 seasons, 2 doubles in a row. And if I'm looking at it and I'm being ruthless and harsh, then that's what I want again. I want to win the Welsh Cup again. Excellent day out for the players. Last game when we won 3-0 away at Druids against Connors Keith in the Welsh Cup was an excellent day and a really, really ruthless performance. We started the game, we scored early, and never looked back. It was nice to win the first Welsh Cup as a manager. So yeah, we've got a home tie, a favourable draw, but that doesn't mean that we're going to take anything for granted, because it still hurts talking about the League Cup, talking about the Tonics Scottish Cup. It still bugs me how we went out, the manner in which we went out, and obviously the early rounds that we went out. Obviously last year before, whatever, we went out to Queen's Park as well early, and the year before that we lost in the semi-final. So these cup competitions, I don't forget about them. I don't just think, yeah, we're out of them and that's it. It hurts to be out of them, because a club of our stature, we should still be in them. There's no doubt about that. Whether it's a little lack of complacency or just players not getting up for games, I won't have it. And Saturday we'll see how much those players have come on and want to play in the game.
Week in, week out, we play familiar opponents in the JD Cymru Premier. Mould, of course, on that front will be unknown to the new Saints. So how, as a manager, have you been able to prepare in terms of the opponent, for example, their strengths, their weaknesses?
Yeah, it's one where we'll have a look this week, do a bit of digging and speak to people who obviously played against them, and have a look where they are in the league and see any ex-players that have played in the Welsh Prem or played at a good standard, and find a little bit about them. But I'm not sure we'll be able to get too much footage on them. But by Saturday we'll know the strengths and weaknesses and who could cause us a problem.
It is a David v Goliath affair, of course. We've already interviewed Greg Draper this morning, and we mentioned to Greg that we all know what happened in that encounter. So as the manager, how will you go about in terms of preparing the players to be as focused, for example, the week afterwards when we play Barrytown United, and then the following weekend against Cardiff Met University?
Yeah, it's very similar. We've already had 2 cup competitions that we should have been going to the next round, and you have to highlight the fact that, look, we've been beaten by 2 teams that, no disrespect, that we should be beating. Went to see the Scottish team that we played 2 weeks before. The fans were on their back. They were playing poorly. Come around against us, and it just shows how much they wanted to win that game. It'll be the same Saturday. They'll come here. It'll be a good game for them. Some players probably haven't played against Welsh Premier teams before, and that's probably what they're aspiring to be at, and the level they're trying to be at. So look, they'll want to come here and put a show on. They don't want to get beat 5-6, whatever. I'm sure the management will be saying that to them. So for our players, it's a question of if you're playing, get through to the next round, but also if you're playing, do yourself justice enough to be in contention for the week after. Big game against Barry Town, things like that. They're the carrots for the players that maybe haven't been playing as much as they'd have expected.
Not just players in the squad, of course, but also those from the under-19s that have made the step up, either to being on the bench or coming on as a substitute. So are we likely to see a very familiar starting lineup, or could there possibly be even debuts for some of those players that are on the fringe of things?
Yeah, we'll obviously have to think about the next league game and whatever else. We'll have a look at injuries and who needs a rest. Things like that first and foremost come into your thinking, but yeah, it's always nice to give people minutes that maybe are on the verge of the starting 11, and also I think the best thing we did was give the players a few days rest as well last week, because of, if you look at the reaction how we started the game against Airbus, it was excellent. So everyone wants to play. You train all week, you want to play. And it's down to them. If they get the shirt, then go and show how good you are.